It's Thursday, September 17th,
Yes.
2015. Welcome to the Alien Invasion number 157. Of course, a production of Galactic Netcasts. I'm Dave Nelson. Joining me tonight, Anessa Moyens and the birthday boy, Brad Ludwig. Happy birthday, Brad!
Woo!
I did something special for your birthday.
What?
I thought that, you can't go your whole birthday without having cake, so I brought cake. Of course, you guys can't eat it because you're thousands of miles away, but
It's the thought that counts.
It
There-
is absolutely
there you
the
go.
thought that counts. Oh, thank you, Dave.
a little mini cake right there.
Wait, here, let's cooperate and I'll blow out the candles, okay? On the count of 3. It's going to be 3 and then go, all right? 1, 2, 3.
Okay. Yeah.
Yay!
All right. Well, birthday boy and non-birthday girl, welcome back, you guys, to the podcast where we talk about extraterrestrials. Not like there's 2 and then there's 1 more and there's an extra. It's, extra means not of this earth. Well, extraterrestrial means not of this earth, right, Anessa? Not on the earth.
Yes, terrestrial would be like on the Earth.
Okay.
So extra would be like outside of the
Yeah. So
off the planet.
basically anything that's living that's not of this earth, we talk about here on this podcast, and their appearances in film, TV, video games, comic books, science, real life. That's about it. There's others, but I can't think of them right now.
And that's okay.
We put the show into sections. I know that's kind of bad to segregate things, but we have to. We have the news, we have the sightings feature, and we have our picks for the week. If you want to watch us do the show live, well, tonight would have been interesting because you would have been sitting there going, when are they going to start? Because we got a little bit of late start, but that's okay. But you can watch us later on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Galactic Netcasts. Or follow us on our social networks, Twitter, Facebook, or Google+, and find out when we're going live. And when we are live, we're also on the Kick app. Just search for just put in hashtag Galactic Netcasts, and we'll chat at you during the show. So without further ado, let's get things underway with, of course, we always start the show with this.
In the news.
Oh, hey, look, I'm first.
Surprise!
Are you guys familiar with Betty and Barney Hill?
Never heard of them.
Who?
Okay. 1961. Betty and Barney Hill, they're driving back from somewhere, and I think it's in Vermont, I believe. Anyways, they're on a dark, lonely highway east of Omaha. No, they're in Vermont. And according to their story and according to testimony from them being under hypnosis, they were abducted by aliens. And it's the first abduction case that was ever reported. And the story is now being turned into a feature film. Now, you may be saying to yourself, hey, wait a second. Wasn't there a movie about this case starring James Earl Jones? Were you guys thinking that?
Totally.
Okay.
I don't know about Brad, but I was.
No.
There was back in 1975, and I remember watching it, and I think it was either a made-for-TV movie or it was a movie that eventually landed on TV. It was called The UFO Incident.
Huh.
Anyway, it's now being turned into a major feature-length motion picture. Gotham Principle, one of the companies that produces the Maze Runner films, has just partnered with writers Bryce Zabel and Jackie Zabel to adapt the Hill story. It'll be called Captured, which is a pretty cool name, based on a 2007 tell-all of the same name by Stanton Friedman. We know who he is, and Kathleen Marden. Because Betty and Barney Hill were an interracial couple, the film will reportedly place the events in the context of both Cold War paranoia, and the country's struggle over race relations.
See, you do the Weird World Weekly, and I bet you were stuck on paranormal, weren't you?
Yeah, I was thinking paranormal, but it's not at all. It's paranoia.
Cha-cha-cha.
Thanks for the plug, by the way, Brad. That was nice.
You're
Just
very welcome, sir.
throw that in there. You did it so naturally, too.
I'm a professional, sir.
So, Captured is a true story that explores the birth of a modern UFO lore through the eyes of the first Americans to report that they were kidnapped by aliens, said Gotham principal producer Eric Robinson in a press release. So, are you guys excited about this? Do you want to see something like this put on the big screen?
I think with the context that they're going to be using, which is, in that particular time period of America, there's a lot of interesting other things that, it could be done in a fashion where the UFO incident is
kind of a side story.
Yeah,
and
sort
it's more
of
about like a
incidental
struggle with race relations and
trying to tell this story as
Right.
a mixed race couple in the 50s that, some of the stressors that could have, affected their relationship from that as well. So, yeah, it'd be very interesting.
Those kind of movies, I think, are more successful usually than a straight up story about whatever that is. For example, and this is a great example, a lot of the most successful Marvel movies aren't necessarily superhero films. They're a heist movie with a superhero in it. Or,
Yeah.
Espionage movie with a superhero in it.
Yep.
So and there's a lot of cases like this where it's about a certain event taking place in a certain time that shows you get that atmosphere of what else is going on during that time period, and it just makes it so much better, I think.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think kind of focusing a bit more on the couple than the UFO story also kind of builds more of a relationship between the viewer and the characters.
And Betty and Barney, yep.
Yeah.
So then you can really start to feel for them and their struggle in trying to come out and tell this story, and like the public's reactions and whatnot. So,
and the odds were definitely against them. So something like that also kind of makes you pull for them, right? Like they have the interracial couple thing going on. People think they're crazy because they've got this story that is just out of this world, literally. So I think this movie has a lot going for it, and I can't wait to see it.
as long as they don't start adding like base explosions.
Like when the aliens take out his teeth, they explode out of his face.
Oh, you see Betty and Barney running away from the flying saucer.
Yep.
And that explodes.
And it makes
Yeah.
that weird
Flying.
noise.
Oh,
that you
it's
keep
not
hearing.
that the UFO explodes. It uses an explosion to launch itself off the ground. Yeah, there we go.
It's even better.
And suddenly Transformers.
And then during
And here's a Ninja Turtle. All right.
previews, they're going to have that sound that all previews have, that
The Inception sound.
exactly. All right, so I want to hear from the listeners. Are you guys excited about this movie about Betty and Barney Hill called Captured? We would love to know. Give us some feedback, won't you? Gmail is our. All of a sudden, my brain just. Galactic.
Gmail is our domain.
Yeah. Galactic Netcasts. galacticnetcasts@gmail.com is our email address, or you can call our voicemail number, 805-328-3966. What do you think of this movie based on the Betty and Barney Hill incident? It's a classic story. It's a story that started the whole abduction phase of the UFO craze, and we would love to hear your thoughts on it. Okay.
Wait a sec. Wait. We'd love to hear your thoughts about it.
In a world. With thoughts.
Oh, goodness.
All right, let's move on. Anessa, what do you got?
All right. Well, in the past few years, well, for the past few decades, we've been talking about sending out messages into space, hopefully for other life forms to find. Well, something that we may not really consider is that perhaps our message is not compatible with the UFOs, or not the UFOs, but the aliens' technology. Not so much that, oh, we can't play it, but, oh, there's this weird virus overtaking our systems and then everything just collapses because they have no idea what's going on. So, yeah, I came across this article a couple weeks ago that talks about how we might accidentally send a computer virus by accident. Whoops, sorry. And they may or may not have an antivirus.
That's the epitome of starting off on the wrong foot.
Yes.
Hey, bro.
So,
Talk. Oh, whoops! We gave you a disease.
our bad. I guess it could be likened to the Europeans coming to the Americas and like, here, have some smallpox covered blankets.
Aliens are like, no glove, no love.
And there it is.
All right. So, a working group of academics, astronomers, and philosophers are currently trying to come up with a universal message to send out in hope of reaching extraterrestrial life. In September, the UK research network for SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, voted in favor of trying to reach out to alien life forms, but they are still undecided what exactly to send and are worried that they could inadvertently send viruses into space, which could infect the technology of other civilizations. Speaking at the British Science Festival, Dr. Anders Sandberg of the Future of Humanity Institute at Oxford University said the humans must be extremely cautious about what digital messages they send into space. The classic example of message would be a series of pulses which showed binary numbers, DNA, sketch of solar system, or the number of humans, he said. But it turns out that there are some security problems. Languages can hide a lot of information. We're worried about malware being sent to aliens. I am kind of split on whether it is a good idea. I see problems. I favor a little bit more, but I can see it going either way. Some people think we're already spamming the universe with reality soaps. The UK Research Network for SETI, UKSRN, has joined forces with the Breakthrough Message Initiative, which is inviting the public to have their say in what the message to send to space and offering a prize pot of $1 million for the best ideas. Dr. Jill Stewart from the London School of Economics and also part of UKSRN said the initiative was important for encouraging humanity to look to itself and decide how we would want to be seen by extraterrestrial life. I am very explicitly in favor. I think it makes us do reflect back on ourselves. I think it would be arrogant to think we were the only ones. But in the timeline of the universe, whether we will be around at the same time, that is a different matter. Dr. Sandberg added, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence is very relevant because it helps us figure out more about the possibilities and fate of intelligence in the universe. The silence in the sky either tells us that we are rare and unique, and therefore responsible for the future of life in the universe, a huge burden, or that there is something very dangerous out there which is worth worrying about. Whatever the answer is, it is bound to profoundly affect how we see ourselves and the universe.
So what's the gist of this story? They're not actually talking about real computer viruses, right? It's just...
It sounds like real computer viruses.
Oh, okay, I thought...
So, and what they're saying is, you know, like we could send a message, and in that message, you would have additional information. I mean, whenever you type something on your computer, I mean, ultimately you're going to have like a binary system of zeros and ones, and what if they work something similar off of that?
Uh-huh.
And we send them something that is going to infect their computer systems and their networks and whatnot, and kind of maybe put things at a standstill till they can figure out how to get rid of the virus, if they can get rid of the virus. So
Worked for Will Smith and what's his face? The Fly, Jeff Goldblum.
Oh, Jeff Goldblum. Yeah. I mean, they stuck a virus up there. It's a computer virus.
Yep. Using
it could be something similar.
Using an Apple PowerBook, right?
Yeah. I think the one thing that they that hit the cutting room floor is actually when they had the UFO that they were studying. They took a look at some of the systems, or they had. I remember reading something on it. Shoot, it's on the interwebs. You can search for it. There was an explanation for it. I don't think it didn't make the final cut.
It's too bad. It wouldn't be as much of a joke. Well, maybe that's a good thing. I don't know.
Yeah, that's to its charm.
No, this is a very interesting story, Inessa, and it's one that you've been sitting on for a couple of weeks, and I was really looking forward to hearing it, and I'm glad we finally unveiled it to the world.
Yeah, I started searching for a story today, and I was like, no, I already have one. I'm going to use it before I forget about it.
There was a bunch of great. Because we have a thing on our website called the Alien Invasion Report. I throw in stories related to aliens, kind of the stuff that we talk about here, but just on the website that you can read. And there was a bunch of good stories today. Like there was an astronomer that said, "Don't give up hope of finding alien life. It may be anywhere you look. It may be in our asteroid belt. Who knows?" And then there's another story. It's like another story I posted earlier this week that the only alien life that's probably in our galaxy is closer to the core, the galaxy, like where the stars are more compact. So you got both ends. You got the very pessimistic and very optimistic end of the finding alien spectrum.
That would be the galaxy's half empty or the galaxy's half full.
Yes. All right. So before we move on to Brad's story, I want to bring something up real quick. We need your help in basically improving Galactic Netcasts by we're trying to raise money for operational costs. We're not trying to raise money for us to get paid. That's probably never going to happen.
Yeah, we don't have a filet mignon fund. That's not what we're trying to do.
Trying to buy a cappuccino machine or something like that.
It's a host our podcast fund on the internet.
We're trying to afford audio hosting. Well, right now we're paying for the web hosting for the website, but we're also trying to raise money for audio hosting. And how we're doing that is with a Patreon campaign. Patreon's this great platform where creators and producers can, if people like what they do, they can, pledge a certain amount a month or per episode or however they want to do it. Ours is per month. You pledge a certain amount per month, and that will go to the fund to help us pay for these certain things. And all we're asking for is $1 a month. You can give more if you want. In fact, we've got some really cool rewards. You can be a guest on our Sci-Fi Geeks Club if you pledge $5 a month, and there's been a couple of people that have done that. But all you got to do is just pledge $1 a month. That money will go towards our operational costs. And up until the 29th of September, we've also got a contest where if you pledge to our Patreon campaign, we'll give you a chance to be on the Sci-Fi Geeks Club with author Andy Weir, the guy who wrote the book that the movie The Martian is based off of. It's awesome. I can't wait. We've had him on the podcast before.
Yeah, I think it was episode 21 of the Sci-Fi Geeks Club.
Okay. I'm glad that you know that. Just offhand like that.
Boom.
You're so smart, Brad.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, you can go look back at that episode. Listen to that episode number 21 of the Sci-Fi Geeks Club, and experience the first time around with Andy. And I can't believe that he actually agreed on this because he's going to be on with us on October 1st. That's the day before the movie comes out.
Yeah, so, in the States, or at least in North America.
North America. Yeah, North America. So what you do is you go over to patreon.com/galacticnetcasts or go to tiny.cc/ patreon.com/Andy Weir for all the details and the link to the Patreon page to pledge your dollar amount per month. You'll be helping us. You'll be maybe helping you out, because you might get that guest slot on the Sci-Fi Geeks Club with Andy Weir, and we appreciate your support of Galactic Netcasts. Okay, Brad, you've got the final story in the news this week.
I do. And this story, we're doing a little more science-based stuff here. New research explains how life could spread to other galaxies. Now, we've talked about panspermia in the past, which is the transplantation of life from other places via meteorites and other, there is some evidence that shows that there's some alien rocks, I say alien, rocks from Mars and stuff like that have landed on Earth. And how that happens is a collision with one of the planets, and that material is ejected from the planet and eventually ends up landing on Earth. So panspermia is kind of the same concept of material being ejected from other areas that have life on it and transplanting it to another place that might be able to support said life. So we're going to continue on with the story here. Scientists haven't yet figured out whether life is capable of surviving in extreme conditions found in space and spreading to other stars, a controversial theory known as panspermia. However, astrophysicists at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics believes that if panspermia is possible, life would spread out in a characteristic pattern. Henry Lynn, the lead author of new research that has been accepted for publication in the astrophysical journal Letters, compared the phenomenon to the outbreak of an epidemic, which that kind of makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a virus, you have a good idea that one of your neighbors will have the virus too, he told Smithsonian Magazine. If the Earth is seeding life or vice versa, there's a good chance immediate neighbors will also have signs of life. The research suggests that there is two ways intelligent life can spread across the universe. The first option is for living things to travel intentionally. The second is through a natural process in which comets and asteroids serve as transfer vehicles for biological matter. Some scientists believe that meteors are responsible for bringing the first primordial life to Earth. If the quote-unquote seeds of one living planet reach a habitable planet orbiting a neighboring star, according to the paper, they can take root. Over time, the result of this process would be a series of life-bearing oases dotting the galactic landscape. In a sense, the Milky Way galaxy would become infected with pockets of life, Avi Loeb, the other author of the paper, said in a press release. Lynn and Loeb note that in their paper, even if Earth is the only inhabitable planet right now, interstellar travel by humans may one day lead to colonization of the galaxy. The question that awaits is whether primitive life has already spread efficiently, or whether it will have to wait for intelligent life to make the voyage, they write.
I was thinking about how you were explaining that, and a good analogy of life spreading throughout the galaxy is exactly how things are spread on Earth via like pollen, or like a bird eats a berry and he poops out the seed.
Or, like to use another analogy, like West Nile, something, a bird somehow, gets maybe bit by a mosquito, and then that gets the virus inside of it, and then the bird flies somewhere else and perishes from the disease, and then a raccoon or something else eats it, and then it gets infected, and so on.
Yeah.
What was it that we were watching the other day? Was it Longmire? Where something ate a poisoned fish and then...
Oh, it was a poison. It was a rat. The cat ate
the cat
dog ate the cat. The cat ate the rat.
And the rat ate
the
poison.
And all three of those creatures perished.
Isn't that like a nursery rhyme?
Yeah, there's a hole in the bucket, dear Liza.
That sounds really familiar.
Hey,
Where have I heard that before?
maybe that's the title of this episode. There's a hole in the bucket.
Well, it will be if I type it into the doc.
Make it so, Dave. Make it so.
Okay, well, let's continue talking about this. That's a very fascinating story, Brad. This is where you guys come in while I type it.
Oh,
Frickin' awesome! It's science!
And we're both typing into the document right now, too.
No, it's awesome.
I don't know what's going on.
You know what we think of science here?
This is why somebody needs to have the soundboard standing by at all times. You know, we need to have like music to cover up all these awkward silences.
We
I'll
can
just
just
sit here
hum
and
the
go,
girl from
"Do, do, do,
Ipanema.
do, 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 do."
Like have really bad, cheesy elevator versions of songs.
Do, 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 do. I don't know why the entertainer popped in my head. Do, 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 do,
Because we are here to entertain you. And one of the many ways that we entertain you is by talking about our sighting. Are we done talking about your story, Brad?
Yes, I could say officially, as of the tone, we are done speaking of my story.
It was great stuff. Very informative. Now let's move on to our next portion of the show, which is this.
Please identify the craft you witnessed.
A black, triangular, three-dimensional shape, huge, just flying, hovering in it.
Shaped like almost like between an egg and like a teardrop.
Two long cylinder objects flying over me.
We had a dome. I could see the occupants in it.
Appeared to be rotating, and it was on circular and disc shape, and it hovered for maybe about 5 minutes.
It's huge. It's huge.
That's what
I'm trying to do my Donald Trump impersonation. Apparently, it's
Oh. Sounds
We're gonna be-
almost kind of like a surfer or something. Like, dude, it's huge.
huge, man. It's epic. Okay, Anessa, this is the section where we talk about somebody who's seen something.
Yes.
You got something that somebody saw.
Yes. Blob over Kansas, shine your light above tonight. So I was looking for sightings, and I noticed that there were a couple of sightings that were actually kind of similar, just in that there were shape-shifting blobs over Kansas and New York. I think New York State. I don't remember if it was New York City. I think it's just a state. So we're going to talk about the one in Kansas. A Kansas witness at Lawrence, Kansas, reported watching a shape-shifting blob drifting overhead and moving toward the University of Kansas campus, according to testimony in case number 70294 from the Mutual UFO Network. Move on.
Whenever anybody on this podcast says whatever case number, we need to have like a typewriter sound effect in the back, or like a teletype.
You know, I need to install the app on my phone, but I've got the Hanks Writer app that Tom Hanks created, and it's just various sounds of typewriters, like different models of typewriters.
Oh, nice.
And it makes the sounds as you type, which is kind of fun. Makes me think of when I was a kid. But anyway. So the witness was near fairgrounds east of Lawrence and stepped outside on September 8th, 2015, watching overcast skies with lower levels of puffy clouds. I sat facing directly towards the west, or towards the University of Kansas, the witness stated. This day, Tuesday, was the day after Labor Day, and the workday was an I can't talk anymore. And the workday as an electrician had been full of frustrations. I had begun to accept that this day was truly unusual, and thought to myself something big was going to happen, and soon I felt a wave of uneasiness and anxiety rush over me. Bum, bum, bum. It was at this point that the object was first seen. At this time, it entered my field of vision directly over my head from the west traveling east, seemingly noiseless. When the halfway through my field of viewing it, I heard what could only have been regular air traffic that would have been above the cloud deck, moving from the southwest to the northeast as they routinely do. The witness described the object. I observed the craft / orb for a total of about 10 to 15 seconds before it left my field of view, so I'll break it down into 3 5-second segments. Interesting. At first glance, it seemed to be dark and dense in the middle, fading to gray around unshapely edges, almost like a plastic bag floating through the sky. For the middle duration, my mind could not make any connections to an explanation as to what I could compare this object to at this time. I'm equally awe-stricken and terrified as I hear the noise of the unseen aircraft passing over. I immediately rule out the possibility that this noise is coming from the object and try to focus on the shape. The witness was comparing what was seen with known objects. It had no wings, no vapor or condensation trails of a mechanical engine. At this point, that is not directly overhead. That it is not directly overhead, I struggled to see if this was transparent, only slightly darker than the clouds, or if it was actually a charcoal gray color. It was very smooth looking with no permanent hard edges, yet at this midway point I was thinking of sacred geometry forms and could almost make out what appeared to be what I believe is referred to as Metatron's cube. In the final seconds, it appeared to look more cube-like, with features where the sides are slightly caving in and bulging out. The witness was watching the object's flight. At this time, it traveled across my neighbor's roofline out of sight. If I wanted, I could have walked around the edge of his building to follow it. I chose not to, as I was semi-paralyzed with fear that this orb / transdimensional being would pick up on the fact that it was being observed and would come back for me. I flicked my cigarette in the grass and went inside immediately to check on my 2 teenage children, safe for now, and I'm on edge paranoid. Lawrence, for those that don't know, is the 6th largest city in the state of Kansas and the county seat of Douglas County, located in northeastern Kansas. Population 87,643. Please remember that most UFO sightings can be explained as something natural or man-made. The above quotes were edited for clarity. Please report UFO activity to MUFON.com.
You really went above and beyond the call there, Anessa.
You know, I was going to take that out, but I was amused by it, so I left it in. And I'm glad they edited some of the quotes for clarity, because it was a little rough at times. I can't imagine what it was like before.
Yeah. No, I've seen reports that were not edited, and they're pretty bad. So I apologize to viewers for my stumbling through that. I did skim through it once before, but verbally my brain and my mouth and their words were just not getting along. Okay, we're not all perfect. We make mistakes. I fall into that trap a lot.
Yeah, but no, I thought it was kind of an interesting thing because they were able to kind of break it down into the phases that they had seen the object. And I like the description of a paper bag hanging out in the sky, because that's a very easy visual when you see a bag just kind of like flying across the street and how it just kind of changes shape and whatnot. So I thought that was a very good reference point.
Yeah.
I'm kind of sad that they didn't really find a reference point for the second one. Really? They're like, I don't know what to compare it to. And I had kind of hoped that they would have been like, oh, it's a mix between a Coca-Cola can and a teddy bear.
And a goat.
And a goat. So
it seemed like this person was really good, though, at describing the situation, describing what was going on. And he said something about the cloud deck, which makes me wonder if he is in like aviation or the Navy, because you know, they talk about being below the deck, right? Which is below a certain point in the sky where they don't like to fly, I think. I don't know what I'm talking about.
I have no idea. Or maybe he's just watched a lot of aviation movies
That could be too.
and
Maybe.
sci-fi, because he automatically goes to the interdimensional thing.
Yeah.
So
Maybe.
I thought that was kind of a leap.
He's an enthusiast, maybe.
Maybe.
All right. Thank you for that report. Case number 70294 from the Mutual UFO Network, MUFON. Appreciate that, Anessa.
You're welcome.
All right, let's move on to our picks. These are things that we have watched, listened to, played, read over the past week or so relating to extraterrestrials. And it looks like in the lineup, Brad is first.
I am. And my pick for this week
Was a pick from last week, but you weren't on the show.
Yes. It's the great thing about Netflix is that they do have classic Doctor Who, and they do have story arcs from different doctors from different time periods. So this particular arc was called Carnival of Monsters that I watched. And this aired in, 73. So when I was about 3 years old, and I didn't see it until I was in my teens on public television. And it was the first time that I realized that the doctor that I knew, which was Tom Baker, actually existed as played by another person, and that was a part of who the doctor was. The whole concept of regeneration was kind of revealed to me because this story arc is right before the story arc where John Pertwee exits and Tom Baker comes in. Now, the interesting thing about Carnival of Monsters is that at about this time, the Doctor has had his banishment to Earth removed by the Time Lords, and he's able to travel through time and space again on the TARDIS, but he's still kind of based on Earth. And sort of I wouldn't call it, it's kind of a running gag. They keep talking about going to Metabolus 3. And it's supposed to be a very calm and tranquil world, and it's going to be a great place where Jo, who was the companion of that particular time, she's kind of, I guess for lack of a better term, she's a hippie, but she's a hippie with a college degree. She does have some science knowledge.
Groovy, there's Daleks.
Well, she's not quite that hippy-dippy, as it were, but, you know, she does speak the lingo of the time period of kind of, she has kind of a mod sensibility to her, which is, you know, yeah, I guess mod it would be the, and Daryl Johnston can correct me on that if I've got that wrong, but that's my silly colonial interpretation of said thing.
Brad,
anyways,
you don't have to point out the fact that Daryl might correct you. He most likely will correct you.
And you know what? I welcome it.
Yes.
So the whole setup of this Carnival of Monsters is that once again, the Doctor and Jo get into the TARDIS to head to Metabolus 3 for some R&R, and they end up on a ship from the 1920s. And the ship is called the SS Bernice, and they seem to be locked in sort of a time loop. All the people on the SS Bernice are doing the same, I think it's about a half an hour time period that they just keep living over and over and over. And while the crew will interact with them once the loop hits, their knowledge of them is reset, of the Doctor and Joe. Now, the Doctor and Joe are not subject to this time loop, which is very convenient.
Of course.
We come to find out that in the SS Bernice is being plagued by a plesiosaur, a aquatic dinosaur, which doesn't seem to make any sense whatsoever. And of course, the Doctor and Joe investigate. As a side thing, we are being told the story of an entertainer and his companion landing on a planet that is very logical, very stern, and they have very specific rules, and there is a political struggle between a couple of people for control of this planet. And in this whole story arc, that plays out as to who is trying to control the planet and what's being done, and that the Doctor and Joe are actually, they got caught in a miniaturization field, and they're within a machine that this entertainer has brought with him. And it has I can't remember the exact name of the scope, but it's a scope of some sort. And actually within this scope, which is, I'd say about the size of, gosh, if you were to take probably about 4 or 5 PC desktop towers and kind of squish them together, it would be about that size, except it's got a spherical top for you to view what's going on inside of this particular scope. And I don't want to give away the ending, but the Doctor does end up escaping the scope, and he does make it to Metabilis 3 on his own. And he gets a crystal that becomes very important to this episode and to the final story arc of Jon Pertwee's career as the Doctor. So it's a very interesting story. Once again, we're being reintroduced to Unit in the current series of the Doctor. We've known about Unit since Tennant's days, I believe, since about 2007, 2008. Was it Tennant or Smith?
I think it was Tennant. I remember him.
Yeah, that's right. Because
Smith didn't come along till later.
Nope, you're absolutely right. Yes, Unit has been mentioned since probably about 2007, if I were to give it a time frame. And but Unit was very much a part of the Doctor's Earth-based missions when he was portrayed by Patrick Troughton and by Jon Pertwee, and a little while he was being portrayed by Tom Baker. So
didn't they also bring back the major, the guy that was in charge of Unit?
Lethbridge Stewart, yes.
Didn't he come on the newer episodes until he died? I thought he did.
Sadly, he passed. His health wasn't so good. He is mentioned as having made a phone call at one point.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, a phone call. He missed the Doctor.
Then his daughter is the current head of Unit, right?
Correct. Yes. And they do mention after the actor who portrayed Lethbridge Stewart passed, they did mention him as actually passing. The actor passed away, but they mentioned that the character passed away as well, and gave him some tribute, which I thought was very, very nice and touching. And yes, we do get to see Lethbridge Stewart a little bit in this story arc here. So
nice, cool. Little getting ready, little pregame for the new series premiering this weekend.
And what's interesting is Metabilis 3 is mentioned a few times even in the new series of Doctor Who. In fact, the episode with the mediums in during Matt Smith's run, and I can't remember the name of the episode, where they go to the house that's supposed to be haunted, and they're with these two famous ghost hunters.
Yeah, it takes place like it's like in the 1970s or something.
Yes. Yep. And the crystal that he uses to help amplify the psychic's power is a crystal from Metabolus.
Neat. I love when they do throwbacks.
Yes.
Nods to previous episodes or species or whatever.
Yep, exactly. So anyways, long story short, please take some time, go to Netflix and check out the Classic Doctor Who. That's what it's listed under, Classic Doctor Who on Netflix. And look for The Carnival of Monsters. And it is a 4-part. It is a 4-part, I apologize, which encompasses about an hour and a half in total for all 4 of these parts. And it's well worth the watch. Knowing a bit of the history of Who is a good thing for us geeks. So there you go.
All right. Next up on the picks list, it's Anessa. Let's hear it for Anessa.
Woo-hoo! Yeah. I don't know why I'm cheering for myself. I got caught up in the moment.
Wait, hang on. Okay, you may proceed.
All this fanfare for my little pick. So my pick is actually an app. I couldn't find it on Android, but it is available on OS. And it's called UFO on Tape. And it simulates you holding a camera and you have this unidentified flying object. Well, it looks like a saucer flying across your screen, and you have to keep the UFO in the image for as long as possible. Otherwise, if you fail, then the person, and you're sitting in a vehicle too, at least at the beginning. I haven't gotten far enough to see if that changes. Because apparently I'm really bad at filming UFOs, just like every other person on this planet, which makes me feel better.
Does the vehicle have power?
I don't know. It's not running, so maybe it doesn't have power. But the camera does, which is kind of weird. So, anyway, so you're filming this UFO, and as the UFO leaves the frame, it'll start beeping really fast. And I think it's the battery that's beeping. And then your passenger, the person in the car with you, will say, "Oh, give me the camera," and she'll take the camera away and turn it off. Or what was the other thing that she said? Like, you're worse
worse with the camera than you are driving or something.
Yeah, it's like you're worse with the camera than you are like a driver or driving. So little criticisms. But it is surprisingly difficult. It would be really easy if it was like a wider shot. But you're also dealing with the frame of the car and the roof of the car and the angles of the frame and the windows. So sometimes it is kind of easy to lose the UFO. And I was telling Brad, I'm like, I think this is kind of good practice for people if they want to practice their UFO videotaping skills. Though personally, I think using a tripod would really help. At least in the real world. I don't know that it would work on the app.
It always helps.
But yeah, if you don't have a tripod and you want to practice on your camera stabilizing skills, then you should probably download UFO on Tape.
Or just, upload your video to YouTube and do that stabilization feature.
Yeah, that works too. But then, some people say, well, the process that it went through has created this weird artifact.
It is kind of weird.
And you want to eliminate them being able to see that. Be like, no, this is actual footage taken by me, unaltered. So, yep.
Did MUFON put this app together? Are they behind this?
You think so, but I don't believe
you would
so.
think, but no, I don't remember who put it. It's by Revolutionary Concepts. So if they're owned by MUFON, it doesn't say. But yeah, it's $1 in the App Store. So if you're bored, want to brush up on your stabilization skills for a camera, then I recommend this app.
All right, cool.
And it's a quick game to play. So if you don't have a lot of time and you're looking, for a couple minutes to kill, then that's a quick app to sit there and try to capture the UFO.
Is that on both iOS and Android? Do you know?
Unfortunately not. I tried to find an equivalent on Android, but didn't really have much luck. There was, I think, an app to log UFO sightings, maybe, that I saw. And then I don't remember what the other one was, but it wasn't the same thing.
Okay. Well, thank you, Anessa.
Mhm.
My pick is my brand new iPhone 6. No.
So now I can finally play that app.
That is actually an iPhone. No, my pick is something I found on archive.org. If you haven't gone to archive.org, you're missing the boat, man. This archive is like the greatest depository or repository. I don't remember which word is correct.
As long as you don't say suppository.
Okay, yeah, that's... No, we won't talk about that.
Okay.
The only it's an amazing place. It's a place where people upload photos, videos, music. You can see old versions of websites. It's called the Wayback Machine. It's a great website. It's called archive.org, and I found a bunch of old public access shows from, I want to say, well, the published date was 2007, but I'm thinking that they were from an earlier time, maybe the 1990s, and it's called Invasion Earth, and it's basically an old guy, I want to say in his 70s or 80s possibly, sitting in front of a camera and having these discussions to himself, a monologue talking about just weird stories, and a lot of them have to do with aliens, like UFO reports. There was something about a radiation field outside of the planet that's not the Van Allen belt that's going to stop the humans from going on manned missions into space for a long, long time. He was talking about the Chinese using electromagnetic something or other testing. It's one of the greatest things that I've ever watched in my life. And he takes live calls, and once in a while people will like prank him, like do prank calls while he's live on the air. It's one of the greatest things that I've ever seen. I'll have a link to one of the episodes, the one that I watched, in the show notes. But if you were to just go onto archive.org and type in Invasion Earth or Harvey Weisenberg, and this is like Manhattan public access too. So it's this old like guy from New York who's got the New York accent. It's a beautiful piece of art. I'm telling you. It's called Invasion Earth, and that is my pick this week here on the Alien Invasion podcast. And it's free. It's always good to get free stuff.
Definitely.
All right. Let's move into the feedback portion of the podcast. Gary True commented on the YouTube video of last week's episode of the Alien Invasion by saying, "Dave! Exclamation point. Your background looks a lot better! Exclamation point. Not great, not scary or weird, but much better! Exclamation point. Anessa rocks, all capitals. I listen to you guys every night. I just don't know why. Smiling." And Gary's made a lot of comments on our videos, so thank you, Gary. And
sorry, you reading that with exclamation point makes me think of Moss from the IT crowd when he's sending an email to the fire department. Fire! Exclamation point.
Oh God, I missed that show.
So anyway,
Gary comments quite frequently on our YouTube videos, and you can too. YouTube.com/Galactic Netcasts. If you do, the great thing about the internet is we're on a bunch of different platforms. A platform for whatever thing floats your boat. Like if you're more of a YouTube person, if you watch YouTube videos all the time and you're on YouTube, that's the place that you hang out. You can watch our videos, comment on our shows there. Or if you're, an iTunes podcast downloader, we're there. We're on Stitcher if you use that platform. So, YouTube is definitely an option to consume our shows. One more piece of feedback from Scott Sullivan. He emailed us saying, I just listened to the Alien Invasion number 157, and it's pretty clear to me that, yes, the gentleman who claims to have been abducted is more than a little crazy. My alarm bells always go off when someone starts talking about being taken to another dimension. And this guy went on and seemingly experienced 99% of the tropes of alien abduction that you always hear about. Silvery suits, telepathy, good aliens and bad aliens, lost time, etc., etc. I just don't buy it. Good show, though. Scott Sullivan.
Thanks, Scott.
Yes, thank you, Scott.
He is part of the Galactic Netcast group on Facebook, and you can too. Just search for Galactic Netcasts and refine the search by group, and you'll find us. And you can join our collective of listeners and fans and followers and hang out, make comments. Say, hi, Scott. That was a great comment. Appreciate it.
Hey, let's give a round of applause to our commenters, Gary and Scott.
All right.
Yay!
Yeah. All right. And you can leave us feedback by emailing galacticnetcasts@gmail.com or call our voicemail number, 805-328-3966. I mentioned the iTunes podcast. You can find us on iTunes, and I mentioned Stitcher as well. So search for the Alien Invasion or Galactic Netcast on both those. We also have a subscription page on our website, gncasts.com. While you're there, click on Join the Galactic Collective, and that's actually a really easy way to find our Facebook group. Speaking of that, our Facebook page, our Twitter account, and our Google Plus account. So, also we're on Instagram too. So
we're on the Instagrams.
What?
Yeah. Okay. That's going to do it for this episode of The Alien Invasion, a production of Galactic Netcasts. As always, final thoughts. And Brad, the birthday boy, goes first.
I can't wait to talk about my pick for next week, which is actually for the first time a game. Well, no, probably for the second time a video game.
All right. I can't wait to hear it, Brad.
And it will be unexpected. When I give you the title, you'll go, what? What does that have to do with aliens?
And then Kardashian or Kardashian? Is it Kardashian or See,
Kardashian.
Now I'm confused because Cardassians are an alien species. Kardashians are also
an alien species. Yes.
All right, Brad. Looking forward to that. Anessa, what's your final thought?
Cricket.
Crickets in your backyard.
I don't know how I rock, but woohoo! Thank you, thank you for the positive feedback.
Your boyfriend says you rock too.
So, people are sweet.
Stop it, guys. All right. We'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.